looking at the global cases and the global counts and what has happened so far, I believe Africa has made progress, but more needs to be done in the COVID-19 fight. If you compare Africa with other WHO regions, like the Eastern Mediterranean region and the Americas, Africa is only having 3.6% of the global cases and 4.4% of the global deaths. But the challenge is the health system on our continent, the inadequacy and access to vaccines. Africa has only 4.4% of the vaccines. And if you look at also the myth and vaccine hesitancy, these are issues. But you will also know that not the entire continent is having these number of high cases. 76% of the cases are coming from just few countries. For example, South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Libya, Nigeria, and Kenya are having the highest share of the number of cases.
One of the challenges has been the variants that have emerged. What do we know about other variants, such as the C12 that was found in South Africa, and also the Mu variant?
The issue of variant or mutation, once there is active transmission and countries in which there is active COVID-19 spread remain very, very high, potentially dangerous variants will emerge. And this is where we have dealing with the Alpha variant, especially on the continent of Africa, the Beta variants, the Delta variants, and other variants that we've been dealing with. And of recent, the Mu variant has been a variant of interest, like what described by both WHO and the CDC as being one of the most transmissible variant that is causing all of these dominant variants with the threat. But the good news is that if not all, most of the COVID-19 vaccines that have been approved by the WHO and the US FDA have shown some level of effectiveness and efficacy against the variants.
One thing is that vaccinated individuals can still get infected and still they can transmit the virus, which is fueling some people's skepticism and hesitancy. What can you tell these people that are still hesitant?
First, vaccine supposed to prevent people from getting sick. Second, COVID-19 vaccines supposed to prevent hospitalization. And third, severe disease and mortality. Those are the yardstick that we use to measure whether or not the vaccines are effective and are efficacious. And these vaccines that we have right now have proven to prevent people from getting sick, prevent people from hospitalization, prevent people from severe diseases, and people dying. The data have shown that people who have been hospitalized right now are people who have not taken the COVID-19 vaccines. There will always be breakthrough cases, that's normal, but the fact is that once people who get the breakthrough and are vaccinated and are not dying from the disease, then it means the vaccines are good for us to use.
Now, a growing number of countries are mandating vaccination. We also know that one of the challenges with Africa is having enough vaccine, having access to vaccines. How do we reconcile that?
Our African leaders should be concerned of bringing in, more supplies and access to vaccines. Overall, only 4.4% of the 1.3 billion people on the continent are getting a single shot of the COVID-19. And another thing is the issue of vaccine hesitancy and people, what is available is not making its way in the hands of people who need them. When the rest of the global world is vaccinating about 40 to 50, 60% of their populations, Africa is lagging behind. So, the African Union, the Africa CDC, the WHO African regions should come together now and strategize using some of the facilities that are available at the COVAX vaccine facility. Now, for putting in vaccine passports and putting in mandates, that's good, but to regulate such a thing on the African continent where everyone is moving from one place to another place and to regulate that would be very, very much impossible. So I would think people will not want to throw their efforts on that, but make sure, get access to vaccines and get it to the people that need them.
Dr. Yensua, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me.